Thank you, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. I am extremely pleased that the Committee of Regions hosts a meeting like this. When we launched the Digital Agenda for Europe in 2010, we said, the slogan is every European digital. You can't do every European digital from rooms in Brussels. So the regions, whose committee is hosting us, are a key, if not the key, intermediate partner to make this happen. And I think that it's great that, having sown some seeds and shaped a bit the agenda, we have this perspective that in the next years, every region will be digital and will be leading every enterprise in every region towards this innovative future. And I want to pick up something that Markku said about innovation. It's long and slow and difficult, and it doesn't happen along a single path. And therefore, in every region, there will be different mixes of the ingredients in the digital agenda that will work. What we have to offer from the European level, I think, is a toolbox, but also a vision. And the fact that the Committee of the Regions is developing a questionnaire is part of that vision. And I think if I had an aspiration, it is that next time in a year, Markku sends out the questionnaire, 200 and something regions actually want to answer it and have stuff to say. Because the big challenge we always face in every activity across the continent is not just scale, but shared commitment. And we have a digital agenda. The committee likes it, the Economic and Social Committee likes it, the European Parliament likes it, the European Council likes it, and as the Minister said, we'll be talking about it in October, but not everybody does it in the same way. We have 17th century maps of Europe. I don't have a map that tells me at the click of a button where are all the ICT relevant accelerators across all the 28 member states and all the regions in the European Union. We do not have it. Everybody has little snatches of knowledge around the universities I know or the big companies I know. But getting to scale, having a complete map, something that the Committee of Regions can help us to deliver, that's the key to effective innovation. I wanted to talk about, firstly, the scoreboard, our snapshot of where are we on the digital agenda, and then about 5 key areas, and then to come at the end to the structural funds and a new scheme that we're launching with some partner regions on innovation vouchers, which I think can help the whole digital agenda to succeed. So the digital agenda scoreboard, the website for this will be linked on your Committee of Regions site in the course of the day. We launched the annual update of the scoreboard at the Dublin Digital Assembly just at the middle of last month. And what it shows is we're making progress, which is good because since I started this job, Nelly Cruz made a little plastic card with all the key performance targets from the digital agenda. And Peter mentioned A Man for All Seasons. I mean, I'm not sure whether the fate that awaited the hero of that piece of theatre awaits me, but here are the targets, and we tell you how we're doing against them. And the answer is we're not doing badly, but the variations across regions are huge. So if you go to northwest Bulgaria, you will find only 1 household in 4 covered by broadband infrastructure. And if you go to the better regions of the Netherlands, let's say, you get above 95%. We need to do better than that. I think that what we're seeing in the digital agenda scoreboard is we're all trending in the right direction, but we're in a pretty dispersed order. So we need to get together and move faster in the right direction. And if I illustrate that from the broadband area, we are on the first of the digital agenda goals, so I get out my plastic card again, basic broadband coverage by 2013 for 100% of EU citizens. We're almost there. But when I say that, there are many representatives of many regions around Europe who know that for the poorest neighbours, that means they're not quite there. And when I started this job in 2010, a representative of the Scottish Highlands and Islands said to me, it's always the same. You know, the new technology begins rolling out from somewhere to the south. It almost gets to us. And before they install it, there's another new technology and they start rolling that out instead. So we have to get to 100%. And what we're going to do there is to create, with the help of telcos and satellite operators, and we hope to launch this before the end of the year, I hope, a website where any citizen can go and they can click and say, if I don't have fast broadband in my village, where can I get it tomorrow by getting a satellite downlink? Now, that's not the answer everybody will want. There are the sort of the fibre fanatics who will say that's not fibre. There will be the incumbents who say, I'm coming soon to a village near you. But we need to provide a feasible solution for every single household in Europe in 2013, and we will do it. The second point I wanted to look at then was smart cities. If I look at smart cities, some of you will say, well, I don't have a big city in my region, it's not for me. But that's actually not true. Firstly, cities can be quite small. Secondly, if we work out how to do ICT as a solution for collective living in cities, it will work for less concentrated population areas as well. And so the European Innovation Partnership for Smart Cities, which is a collective effort between Mrs. Geoghegan-Quinn, Mr. Oettinger, Mr. Kallas and Mrs. Kroes, this is going to be, I am confident, not a new financial instrument, but a way of bringing together partners. And I think that whether you have a big or a small city, a smart town, whatever you have in your regions, you should think about getting into that. It will cover not only supply-side co-funding for some large-scale projects, but it will also cover demand-side measures, for example, new business models, modernization of public procurement, citizen local awareness platforms to enable communities to fix their own problems. So think about the urbanization aspect and the innovation partnership. If I say that with confidence, it's because on the first of the innovation partnerships we launched, and I'll come to that now, active and healthy aging, we're doing extremely well. And you'll see in the press this week the reporting on the regions who have been identified by different team of commissioners, so Mr. Borg, Mrs. Kroes, Mrs. Geoghegan-Quinn, so health and ICT. And we've identified some regions as centres of excellence for particular aspects of the active and healthy ageing experiments. Here again, the key novelty is partnership. It's not European, it's not the innovation bit, it's the partnership. For the first time ever in that EIP, we have 3,000 stakeholders working together across Europe, 300 regions. So not only all the EU regions, a couple just outside, and €1 billion euros worth of investments have been mobilized already. And I think that's an immensely useful innovation in the way we do research. So again, health is everywhere, that people care about, and those of you who have not yet got a region that's the centre of excellence in today's shortlist should be thinking about getting into that. Two other things before I get to the structural funds: modernising the public sector and jobs and enterprise. On the modernisation of the public sector, I think we've seen for the last year the European Council endorsing the European Commission's call for the modernisation of public services to be part of the recovery and growth plan. You can't build a 21st century economy with a 19th century civil service. And I think that already the Minister has spoken to the way in which in Lithuania, one government is driving that forward. But it doesn't only happen at national, it also happens at local level. And I think that both e-government and participation and transparency are crucial parts of that. I think that some of the legislative underpinnings, again, which the Minister referred to, have come out now around, for example, public sector information and open data. We have an EU legislative framework. You saw in the G8 that the EU and the countries that were there, both in and out of the EU, adopted an open data charter. So there's global support for this approach. If you have open data, if you enable people to work on their everyday lives and requirements at local level, that's a key part of modernising. But we also think, and that's why the Connecting Europe facility, €1 billion over the next 7 years, is important, we also think digital service infrastructures within countries and regions and between them can help to drive more rapid uptake for public procurement, for e-identity, for public health data to be available for citizens wherever they are travelling around. So modernising the way we deliver what I call digital public goods is crucial. But the last challenge is perhaps the biggest. We don't have enough jobs, we don't have enough skills, we don't have enough enterprise. And there are two initiatives which I wanted to draw to your attention there. The first is the Grand Coalition, as it's called, for digital jobs and skills. It's an issue which we began to brainstorm about in the margins of the Digital Agenda Assembly co-hosted by the Parliament and the Committee of Regions last year. So some people say, you know, the Rovio guys in Dublin were saying, Commission has to move at internet speed. I wouldn't claim that I would know internet speed. It probably moves too fast for me. But I think a year from first brainstorming around a table with Nelly's cabinet, me, some of you, to actually having hundreds of pledges coming out from major enterprises and regions, that's a good thing. What's it about, therefore, this Grand Coalition? It's about identifying at local level the gaps in the recruitment offer as perceived by enterprises. What are the skills I can't get? And putting that together with the capacity of apprenticeship or further education or other training solutions that can get bright people into the right jobs. And it has to start small and at the local level. One university pledge is to start a computing program for 45 teenagers a year. That's small, but it's a start. So anybody can join. And that's a challenge, because if we all go away and by next Monday we haven't thought about who in our region can join, it won't be a very grand coalition, but it could be. The other initiative, which Nelly announced a little later in the winter meeting in Davos, is Startup Europe. We haven't called it Startup Sauna Europe, but we needed to be culturally open. The idea is that entrepreneurs, would-be entrepreneurs, do not get enough encouragement to start up in Europe and to stay in Europe. So to start up in Europe to begin with, 8 out of 10 kids, when they, if you ask them at 17, do you think you could start a business, they say yes, and only 2 out of 10 across Europe actually try it. So there's a huge unexploited pool of would-be talent out there that's looking to people like us to give them more encouragement. And Startup Europe is about that. Let's network together all the accelerators, all the coding clubs we have across Europe. Let's see where the gaps are. There are some regions where you haven't got enough accelerators and you haven't got enough coding clubs to get people on a path to ICT-enabled enterprise. So if we put together Startup Europe and More Jobs and Skills, we believe this can build hope and justified hope from the bottom up, but we can't do it alone. So think about that. Now let me come to the structural funds and then I've finished. We already see in the period now closing an acceptance that ICT and broadband are important and a failure to actually spend the available money on those important goals. 60% absorption rate for broadband across the member states is not good enough. That's a failure, let's be honest. So what are we going to do going forward? We double the bet. So ICT will be one of the 4 concentration objectives. I think that's a crucial wake-up call for national and local governments to change the positioning of ICT everything, of digital everything, in our regional and local development strategies. This is not just about broadband, it's about energy efficiency, SMEs, e-commerce, e-health. It's about all the other things I've mentioned. And what we're going to do there is to partner with our colleagues in DG Regio and in the JRC, in the research capacity in the Commission, to draw up some some basic toolbox to help regions that haven't thought about it, or to help regions who have thought about it think some more. How do I really make my regional development plans ICT enabled, digital friendly, enterprise friendly? And with a virtual task force that we have across the Commission, we are definitely getting ready to help on that, but we need to know who to talk to in the different regions. And one of the projects that we're piloting and that the people speaking later can talk about, which is related to this, is a pilot for ICT innovation vouchers. So we're piloting this now to see whether we can use a voucher scheme in any of the eligible regions across Europe to help those who don't yet use ICT in their businesses and administration to get ready to do it. So this would be a regional implemented scheme funded through the EU structural funds. The design is to help micro, small, medium-sized enterprises to innovate through ICT uptake, a small amount of money and a small amount of support to take what the Boston Consulting Group calls no-web SMEs and make them high-web SMEs who integrate ICT in their business plans and as a result grow faster and employ more people. We've tried it without EU funding, or we've seen it tried without EU funding in even distant Connemara, just to take one example, and there are people in the room who can explain that. We know it can work. You need the right people on the ground. You can't just invent a voucher scheme and throw it out of a window in Brussels. It has to be picked up. It has to be savvily implemented. But I think that with the pilot that we're now launching with Murcia and Extremadura, I'm pretty confident that we'll get some interesting learnings about slightly different approaches to implementing the same pilot, and then we need to spread it further. Chairman, I finished. That was maybe a bit self-indulgent and long, but this is a very exciting opportunity, but it will only be really exciting if all of these nice ideas are taken away and an unmanageably large number of regions start emailing me saying we need to meet. Thank you very much.